Welcome to the introductory module on Marzano's 9 strategies for effective instruction. This is the first of 4 modules designed to build your understanding of these strategies so that they may become a part of your classroom practice. There are 2 objectives for this series of modules. The first is that by the time you reach the end, you will be able to identify and explain Marzano's 9 strategies for effective instruction. The second is that you will be able to identify best practices as well as common pitfalls associated with each strategy. The first question you might be asking right now is, who is Marzano and where did these strategies come from? Good question. Robert Marzano is an educational researcher who has written over 30 books and 150 articles on almost every aspect of classroom instruction. In the late 1990s, he and a team of researchers undertook a large-scale study to identify which teaching practices corresponded most strongly with increased student learning and achievement. They performed a meta-analysis that analyzed hundreds and hundreds of published research studies on various instructional techniques. And through this study, they reached 2 key findings. First, there is evidence that an individual classroom teacher can have a significant effect on student achievement. In other words, teachers matter. Second, they identified 9 different types of instructional strategies with empirical evidence showing a higher likelihood of increasing student achievement when they were used. In 1998, they published their findings in a book, Classroom Instruction That Works. The Marzano Nine was born. The first 3 strategies are setting objectives and providing feedback, reinforcing effort and providing recognition, and cooperative learning. These 3 strategies fall under the larger umbrella of creating an environment for learning. They each describe methods for focusing the learners in your classroom and creating a classroom culture that facilitates academic growth. The second 3 strategies are cues, questions, and advance organizers, non-linguistic representations, and summarizing and note-taking. These 3 strategies fall under the broader category of helping students develop understanding. These strategies help students to activate their background knowledge and use it to scaffold new learning. They also help students to make connections between concepts, develop deeper understandings of content, and organize new learning. Last of all, the final 3 strategies are homework and practice, identifying similarities and differences, and generating and testing hypotheses. These strategies are all used to help students extend and apply knowledge. The goal is to move students beyond a focus on getting the right answer and to a deeper understanding of how the knowledge and skills they are learning work in real-world contexts. For new learning to have value, students must see that it is relevant, useful, and meaningful. Before we begin learning about each strategy individually, a word of caution. After the 9 strategies began to be adopted by schools and school districts across the United States, Marzano noticed some disturbing trends in how schools and teachers were using his findings. In 2009, he published an article identifying 3 common mistakes associated with his 9 instructional strategies. The first was that some schools and teachers were using these strategies to the exclusion of everything else. That is, they were using these 9 strategies, and only these 9 strategies, for all of their instruction. Marzano never meant to present these 9 strategies as the totality of effective teaching practice. Instead, they were intended as tools in a teacher's chest of instructional resources. The second mistake is closely related to the first, and it is assuming that high-yield strategies must be used in every class. Teachers must be intentional about which strategy they use and when. Teaching is context-specific, and Marzano wrote that a specific instructional strategy is effective only when used in the specific situation for which it was designed. This means understanding how and when to use each strategy. The last mistake that Marzano noted was teachers assuming that high-yield strategies will always work. Just because you have your students use the strategy of note-taking and summarizing on a regular basis does not mean that they'll automatically love your class and ace their achievement tests. As teachers, we have to constantly reflect on what we are doing, why we are doing it, and how students are responding. If a particular strategy is not producing the desired results, we need to think about why and then try something else. The Marzano Nine are not silver bullets that are effective in all situations. Rather, they are powerful tools in your toolbox of teaching resources if they are used systematically and intentionally. This concludes our introductory module on the Marzano Nine. In the upcoming modules, we will examine each strategy one at a time and also talk about useful technology tools that are available for teachers to use when they implement these strategies. Just like the 9 strategies themselves, technology resources must be chosen strategically and should only be used when they add value to the teaching and learning process. Now it's time to move on to our next module, which examines the first 3 of Marzano's strategies. All 3 of these strategies can help teachers create an environment for learning.